3 tech companies that active athletes right now are building. We have Gameup FYI, Cole Anthony. We got Robert Burns, founder of DormHub. We got Spencer Dinwiddie of Calaxy. I think I've seen enough and work with enough athletes to sort of break down, see what they're doing, and see, could it work? These athletes are building tech companies while still active. Insane. 20 years ago, it was restaurants and franchising. Now it's like who can build the coolest tech startup. And I'm here to break down 3. So what do you think? These gonna work? Would you fund them? Let's go, baby. It's another episode of the Athletes and Assets podcast. I'm your host, Noah Lack, and this is what we do. We teach business topics through athletes. I've had athletes come on from the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NWSL, you name it. Scroll through some of our catalogs and see the cool topics that we teach. Today, we're getting a little techie. I'm going to be breaking down 3 active professional athletes who are building a tech company simultaneously. We're going to break down what they're building, why it could work, and why it wouldn't work. As for me, I've talked to over hundreds of athletes about their entrepreneurial endeavors, building off the court. Some athletes aren't entrepreneurs. Some athletes are working in corporate America or doing stuff such, working amongst real estate, big tech, still playing, but just investing on the side. There's all these different kind of ways athletes are getting involved now in the business world. It's really exciting to see. For me, my bread and butter has been tech because I've been here in San Francisco, the tech hub of the world for the past couple years on the investing and the startup side. So I've seen, I won't say I am super successful, built anything incredible yet, but I do think I've been in the game long enough to start picking up what we just call pattern recognition. What could work, what doesn't work. Obviously, incredibly category defining things sort of break rules. They break the mold. They don't make sense at first. They're really hard to pick out. That's the fun about tech investing for those who do so, those who observe, those who participate. But I think I've seen enough and work with enough athletes to sort of break down, see what they're doing, and see, could it work? Is it a waste of time? Why are they doing this? So, chosen 3 athletes. First of all, give us a like and subscribe. Subscribe to the community. Join the community. Get involved with us, man. So if you're watching this video, subscribe. And because we pump out episodes twice a week, all right? That's a good cadence. I'm not going to hit you 3-4 times a week. Monday, Thursday, I'm there in the watch later category. I'm there in the new episodes list, all right? And so are our athletes who consistently watch us. I'm in touch with all our athletes, so this is a great community we're building. 3 athletes. First of all, I'd love all 3 on the pod. Maybe not at once, but I'd like all 3 on the pod. These athletes are building tech companies while still active. Insane. 20 years ago, it was restaurants and franchising. Now it's like who can build the coolest tech startup. And I'm here to break down 3. Number 1, Cole Anthony, point guard for the Orlando Magic, and his mother, Crystal, co-founded a company called Gameup. Gameup is an all-in-one resource for parents navigating the youth basketball world to help find resources, consultation, the right team for their child. Basically, this platform where, you can go on and as a youth basketball player or parent and find the best training or which AAU team should my son play on? How do I know who to trust? It's just a lot going on right now in grassroots basketball. They're also going to implement AI to match skill level with team. So that's a big futuristic thing. So that's in the roadmap. Basically they're working with developer to sort of make sure we are matching the son or daughter with the basketball program or coach or trainer based on a set of data points that I'm sure they're working through, and just make it more and more accurate, and then just basically codify the wild, wild west of grassroots basketball. That's a problem in our country. And that transitions us to number 1, why it will work. This is a real problem, I will say. So kudos to Cole and Crystal for pointing this out. Youth basketball is so fucked right now, it's ridiculous. It's incredible the amount of lack of clarity, the lack of honesty, the murkiness that amongst a parent and their son or daughter's journey. I went through this with my father. My father was incredibly supportive, still is incredibly supportive. Shout out, Pops. And we went through this problem. Youth basketball is a tough place to navigate, especially if you want to play competitively. And I think that there needs to be a solution. It's tough because basketball, and specifically basketball, is such a gatekeeping place. It's really not all about ability. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of red tape involved at the youngest level because it's expensive. And that's probably also why they're tackling this problem, because it's been, it's a huge money grab for a lot of programs, and parents just want to know they're putting their money in the right places, which I get. It's a real problem. So that's one reason why it will work. Real problem. Number two, I think this platform is especially good for parents and kids who know they won't go D1, but they still want to compete at a high level or still feel they're on a competitive team, which is actually a lot of kids, not just for basketball. If they expand to other sports, same thing, right? Like, I want my kid to be stimulated and challenged. We know he's not going to Kentucky or Duke, but we don't want to put him with a team that, one, is a waste of time and just horrible, and they suck. Like, no one wants to be on a sucky team, unless kids are there just because their parents need to put them in some sort of daycare, which is also like a level that's also could be a need for folks. Or number two, they're not going to play on the sponsored circuit team. I think the EYBL is like the NBA of AAU basketball, and not a lot of kids get that chance to play in the EYBL, and so many EYBL players going to be NBA players. So it's a pretty good proxy for your game and your level. For the most part, there's a lot of politics, a lot of players who have no business being in the EYBL, but they are anyways. So I think there is a good smart. This is another reason why it will work. This reason. There's plenty of kids and parents who could use something to help them navigate their grassroots basketball lives better. Number three, the funding behind it. Let's look at this from a business perspective. They're hiring developers. They're going to use AI. So this is they're building like a real tech company, which is expensive. Cole Anthony signed, I believe, a 3-year, $39 million extension for the 2023-2024 season. They got money. They got a blank check, man. They don't need to go and fundraise. They can pretty much do this and build this as long as they're willing to be patient and as long as they want to stick their head in this game, this tech startup game. This is an advantage of being a professional athlete, especially in the NBA, where they have some of the highest salaries on the planet. This thing could self-destruct, and they'll be fine as long as Cole wants to keep funding it. And I don't know his family's economic background. I know his father was a great NBA player, and Crystal seems well-to-do. I can't speak on their social economic background, but half the battle is getting enough bats at the plate, and I don't think they'll have that issue. To say it in a very subtle way, I think they'll have plenty of time to figure out the app, what users want. They got runway. They have runway. They have time to build a company. So I think that funding won't be an issue. This is amazing founder market fit. Cole's story. So Cole was not an incredible prodigy growing up. I mean, he obviously his bounce kicked in high school. He had an amazing high school mixtape. But Cole has been on, and his mother have dealt with every level. So the founder market fit here is spot on. And it's very unique for someone who's in the NBA because usually you're highly talented from a very young age. So the problem really speaks to them, and I think that is a really good sign. And so I think because of Cole's stature, his notoriety, and the ability to distribute the product, and there's not a gym that wouldn't let an NBA player in there in America. Unless like the Heat didn't like the Magic or something, but there's not real rivalry there. Cole Anthony's stamped. He's valid. Like coaches, and I'll talk about this as an issue later, but coaches, trainers on that side will take their call because I see this, there's sort of a marketplace model here where there's like the demand of the youth and the parents, and then there is the trainers and the coaches. And so like you gotta like it's like the chicken and the egg problem you'll see in marketplaces. Like if there's no like demand a desire to get on this platform and access the different teams, then like why would the teams onboard? And then if there's no teams onboard, why would a child and their parent like use the platform? And so I think like the strategy, the play here could be to aggregate a shit ton of teams first, and then get the players and parents on second. And I think Cole can hack the system because I think because of their accomplishments as an athletic family, these coaches and trainers would spend the time to onboard onto the platform. They'll give Cole his time. I think that's the reason why it would work. Why it wouldn't work? Why would Gameup not work? One reason why I think it wouldn't work, the Anthony's got to have some patience here. Let me tell you. You're dealing with some of the most stubborn people on the planet, youth basketball coaches. Youth basketball coaches are some of the most stubborn people who don't use tech that much. This is why sports tech is still so relatively new, because you're dealing with antiquated industries, antiquated people that have a way of doing things. Look, I understand that the thought process is simple. Players get on, teams source the players that have this right skill level for them, and vice versa. The best teams don't want to. I don't think the best teams will want to use this. Like New York Rens, like Houston Hoops, EYBL. They're not going to They don't need this platform. They recruit the best guys. They know who they want. They've known them for years. So why all of a sudden do they need to communicate with them through a separate platform when they've known them for a while? So there's these rooted relationships that that make me skeptical of some of these teams and players wanting to sort of get on the platform. I think what I'm trying to say is for the very best players. I don't know if this is for the best players. And so I think there's this popularity effect. Well, if Johnny's not using it, then why would I use it? Or Kendrick's not on it. Maybe I can use it without it. But I think this is actually more so on the onus of more so on the coaches and programs. I think these guys are not tech focused, which is part of the problem. This is why this is part of why they're tackling the issue. I think it's a really tough issue to tackle. The fact that these guys fighting these guys to use it, I think that's a huge problem. Fighting these guys to use it. That is a whole dilemma in itself. Lying. Next problem, lying. So it's a consumer marketplace, essentially. Parents and kids are going to think they're way better than they are. And coaches who want their money are going to promise them playing time and not deliver. Now, if maybe there's a rating system that could be there's an accountability aspect, sure, maybe. But man, I know men lie, women lie, numbers don't. But dude, basketball and just the lying that goes on and the politics, trying to source the right team for your kid. And the coach senses, the youth basketball coach knows that I'll give you some playing time, but I also see that your mom's carrying that YSL purse. That is going to be a nice funding addition to our program. We're bringing NIL to toddlers elite. So I think the lying aspect, lying about your skill level, lying about what team you want to play for, on the other side, lying about the players you're looking for. Now they do have basketball consultants on the app, which I think that is very cool. It's not super scalable, but I think that's okay. I think the consultant is sort of, the basketball consultants are going to be the most important part of this platform in the short term. Absolutely. Until you can get rid of them, which I don't know. You may not even, that's another thing. You might not even be able to ever get rid of a basketball concierge. I think people would want to use that more so than going through a list or a checklist. It's kind of like when you call a hotel and the automated beeper, the automated robot goes on. Is like, for bookings, press 1. To talk to a representative, press 0. Most people are pressing 0. I know I'm pressing 0. I just want to talk to someone to get it over with. So, there's that kind of that thing. Last reason, NIL. Somehow NIL is going to try to fuck with this. NIL is already seeping into high school, so I think when money's involved in the youth basketball, money, a lot of money is already involved in youth basketball, and so I think NIL is going to make this tricky unless they work with NIL. So I think somehow NIL is a big blocker here because it seems like a very pure app. I feel like this app could be for younger kids, maybe under 11 years old, 9, 10, 11. But it's really that 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old years where these decisions really matter for many reasons. And I think NIL, is just going to be so tricky to navigate on the high school level. And so I think a reason why it wouldn't work is this block of NIL somehow. Okay, so that's Gameup, but I'm really excited to see what they're building. Shout out Cole Anthony and Crystal. I wish you guys the best of luck. That's awesome. Gameup.fyi. Not in love with the domain also. I think it should be gameup.com. But I think they will, they probably have trouble sourcing domains. Screw all the domain hoarders out there, domain brokers. Athletesandassets.com, baby. Check us out. Like and subscribe. Next athlete is Robert Burns. Robert Burns just finished up his rookie season in the NFL. He started with the Chicago Bears. He ended it with the Atlanta Falcons and is currently heading into year 2, active NFL player. But he's tech savvy. He's building something called DormHub. Show the link. Yes, it looks like the other website. It caught your eye. Great marketing, Robert. DormHub is like Airbnb, but for college students searching for housing. Now, the backstory is awesome, and it's the one we can relate to. Robert Burns. He went to Miami, he went to Connecticut, but while he was at Miami, if you know anything about the University of Miami, they like to party. Robert was partying with his boys. And got kicked out of his house. He got evicted by the landlord, essentially leaving them homeless. And they had so much trouble finding housing after they got kicked out from their lease that Robert was like, dude, this process has stuck with me. This needs to be totally redone, man. This is a struggle to find housing. I'm sleeping house to house. There needs to be a solution for college students to find better housing. So Robert started DormHub. They recently are starting their Kickstarter fundraiser. The idea is a simple Airbnb model. Once again, you have your students and you have your landlords and your tenants, and they find each other essentially kind of like a marketplace again. And landlords, you can rate, the stay and the students, and students, pay, presumably on the app. Very super early app. But it piqued my interest. I want to mention again, you can leave reviews. And so here's this accountability thing where, if landlords are assholes, they'll be rated poorly. If college students are partying and wake up the neighbors, they'll get a poor score and leaves them less of a chance to find housing again if they have another situation like Robert. But Robert's situation is not unique. All right. I'm not here to single him out. That's happened to a lot of people I know. Okay. So Robert ain't at fault here. Mostly it probably wasn't his fault. Why will this app work? Facebook, I feel like, is becoming very outdated with the new generation. Gen Z doesn't want to be on Facebook, okay? Less kids these days are on Facebook. And, when I was going to college, I remember this myself, sort of looking around the summer before my freshman year. There was Facebook Marketplace, right, where people would list their homes on Facebook around Santa Clara University, which I attended. And I remember, just frustrated using Facebook. I just felt like it's not that I didn't feel trustworthy. It just wasn't a good experience. And, I do think something separate for college students is very, very intriguing, man. I will say this is a very interesting idea. What I do really, really like about this is they have a built-in roadmap to, once again, put in accountability here. I think the biggest problem is these landlords, they score leasers. You have a group of frat guys in the house, and then they just are, everyone's unhappy. The frat guys are pissing the landlords off and the neighbors, and in turn, they're so micromanaging of the roommates and the people leasing the house that they're frustrated. They're like, dude, get off my neck, man. Like, I'm trying to do a keg stand with the boys, okay? I'm for the boys, and you're out here trying to just curfew after 12 p.m. It's happened on campus at Santa Clara. No one's happy about it. There's no happy campers, and it just leaves this mix of just distrust and a bad taste in everyone's mouth and a poor experience on both sides. This is why the accountability feature might be the most important thing Robert is thought of, because transparency from the get-go is super important. Is this landlord okay with partying, etc.? Are these college students going to party in the lease? Like, this is important information to be shared on dorm hubs. And so I like the idea a lot. College is always a unique beast. It's something that's going to be reoccurring as well, which I like a lot. It's just this is such a surefire thing, because I may not use an Airbnb this year, but if I was in college, I'm certainly going to look for housing for next year. And if dorm hubs can codify everybody, there is reoccurring revenue, reoccurring transactions. That's why I think it would work. Why it won't work? Why would this not work? First of all, the Kickstarter thing, Robert, I'm a little skeptical of. $30,000 may sound like a lot, but it's really not. In fact, you're going to burn through that really fast, sir. This is a technical product. You're going to need developers, and you're going to burn through that really fast, man. You might have more than $30K behind it. I'm just going off public information. But the Kickstarter $30K program, dude, that's like, you should be trying to raise, like, for something like this, $500,000 at least. We're thinking about a pre-seed round here. We're thinking 250 to 500K. That's what I would go with, man. Because you're not going to nail it, Robert. You're not going to get it right the first time. So just like I just talked about with Gameup, like, you need more hits at the plate. You need more shots on goal. You just need more time, man. So I understand, raising money's tricky. I'm not like, I'll address, I could address this in another podcast, but it's not easy. It's not fun. It's not like some people in Silicon Valley, people think it's cool. I don't think it's cool, but 30K, if you're going to raise money, Robert, 30K, a little skeptical of that. Number two, there's a feature in dorm hubs that they're trying to focus on, which is roommate dating. I think this will not work if they really focus a lot on this feature. Here's why. One, you got to find the one thing that works first. My bet would be the landlord-student matching, not the student-to-student matching, that the roommate matching. And two, going through this process myself, like, at the end of the day, man, Instagram is the biggest dating platform. Not Hinge, not Twitter, not Raya. The first thing you do when you hear someone or meet someone, usually the user behavior is to go on Instagram and see their profile. And, maybe you connect their Instagram profile to dorm hubs. But the roommate dating thing, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. I just wouldn't focus that much onto that in the beginning. I think Instagram solves that. I do think people are moving off of Facebook. But I think, the matching and sourcing, like, that takes a lot of development to figure out, like, what are the right features, what are the right questions and answers. I think if you're going to do a lot of user testing in the beginning, I think it's the landlord, the B2B play, the landlord to student play, excuse me. So yeah. Don't focus too much on the roommate dating. My 2 cents, which, don't matter, but I'll throw them anyways. Number 3, Airbnb will build this. Let me tell you something about Airbnb. There are some dogs, man. I have no doubt if they see this as an opportunity, Airbnb will start building Airbnb for college students and landlords. And Robert, you're kind of fucked. But, like, I'm not saying there's no chance. I'm just saying, like, the typical like, oh, OpenAI would do this when we talk about AI startups. Oh, OpenAI can do this, right? Like I'm saying that for Airbnb. Airbnb is tough, man. Like Airbnb is the real deal. So those are like my 3 reasons why this potentially wouldn't work. Raising too little money, focusing too much on the roommate sourcing feature, which is up for debate. These are all up for debate. I actually welcome debate. Please, in the comments, like let me know if I'm out of line or anything, and you want to hear more. Number 3, Airbnb will build this. DormHub, Robert Burns. Shout out Robert. Keep doing you, man. Keep going. Keep shipping. Number 3. This one is probably the most public startup that's been talked about the most. Absolute moonshot here, in my opinion. But I want to talk about this more and more and more. Spencer Dinwiddie of the Los Angeles Lakers is the co-founder and chairman of Calaxy, an open social marketplace for creators by creators, a creator platform where the transactions are on blockchain. They're on the Hedera, which is a network, a crypto network. Hedera Hashgraph, cutting edge blockchain alternative. Basically, creators have their tokens that fans can utilize for a personalized experience. Just think of like if I am, let's say Athlete's Asses blows up and I'm so famous that people want me to send them a message and they'll pay me in exchange immediately for a message. The payment is actually this coin. So it's a crypto, it's USDC. So it's not, you're not Venmoing me $5. It's not like Cameo or whatever, where you pay me $20 and in exchange I say, hey, Johnny, keep it up, man, keep up the great work. Thank you for the support. You are sending, like you're text messaging, a crypto coin, which is an all-in bet on the mainstream adoption of Web3 and the creator economy. Why this will work? The explosion of the creator economy is undeniable. Everyone is a creator these days. Even in corporate America, people are making TikToks, Instagrams, podcasts like myself. Everyone's a creator. And, creators need easier and more efficient ways to monetize. Makes sense to me, absolutely. Safety within transactions. So making sure that, when I'm getting a payment from someone to do something, or I'm funding someone, a creator, to access XYZ, whatever you're looking in exchange for that payment, you want to make sure it's safe. I think there is safety that has been that these guys are working on, and so creators know that they can trust the transactions that are coming through and can fully monetize from their name and their products and their content. Number 3, international creators. If Bitcoin can become the international currency because everyone else's currency is so fucked, it's got a chance, man. I'm telling you, this thing has got a chance. And especially with international creators who have fans internationally who want to participate or pay for something, but they don't want to go through this like really tough exchange thing. Having this all on one sort of coin, one sort of currency, an easy way of transaction makes all the sense in the world to me. And you see it in countries with really high inflation rates where if you were to give me, if I were to send US dollars over to Argentina, by the time it gets over there, it's like half or it's like not even worth anything. Crypto, very, 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 can be a potential very easy way to send transactions. So for international creators, I think it works. Why this would not work? Okay, this is an absolute moonshot, man. Like this is betting on the entire sort of Web3, movement. This is really banking on that this Hashgraph system will work out in the long run. They've raised $26 million Series A, so clearly people are really playing the long-term game. So this is a really long-term play. We're waiting for, now, funny timing, stablecoins are up. Bitcoin's rising. Like the crypto right now is on a little tear. People are feeling good again. The vibes are great. What happens in another crypto winter? Like it's just so inconsistent right now. And there's the trust issue. I know I explained the safety with the transactions, but people in general, there's just still this mainstream negative rhetoric for Web3. And so until that's the rhetoric, they got time. They raised millions of dollars. But the thing is, when you raise that much money, you're expected to burn that much money because they want, your investors are expecting you to scale fast. So I'm curious, Solo, the co-founder CEO, I'm curious to see how he handles, well, I won't be able to see, but how he handles the burn, how he navigates that with considerably an up and down time in the technology he's building on. So if he can, how long is the winter going to last? Will there ever be a summer? Remains to be seen. I mentioned high burn. That was another one that I've dipped into. They've raised a shit ton of money, and so they're expected to bring like a lot of money in. Like this is not a unicorn. This is a decacorn build. This is a decacorn company. If that's really what they're raising for, because capturing the creator market, everyone's fighting for the creators, through creator links and stuff. And which brings me to the next point, which is if it doesn't need to be on Web3, then it won't be. So there's creator platforms. Shout out my guys Pillar, man. My guys at Pillar, Stan. These creator platforms are allowing creators to now already monetize their stuff through creator stores, booking appointments, different things using normal tech, using US dollars. So if people are happy with that, and these companies are achieving product market fit, which is the interesting, probably the biggest point of clarification here. There's creator economy startups that are doing really well right now. Now it's still early, but if these guys knock it out of the park and all these creators are on their platforms, I don't know what's going to make them just switch over to Calaxy. So I think it's definitely this is like a 10-year play, man. Like this is a bet by like 2030, 2035 that creators are sick of Web 2, which is it's a long time from now, man. A lot can happen. Reason number 4 why it won't work, and this is a qualitative thing. This has nothing to do with Web 3. So recently, Spencer Dinwiddie was traded to the Raptors from the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Raptors waived him. And then now Spencer Dinwiddie is on the Lakers. And so he's gone through a lot. And good thing he's in LA with his co-founder, so that's cool. But he's got a lot on his plate, man. He's still clearly fighting for an NBA career. That's taking most of his attention, not running the company. So then you're like, okay, well, Solo's the CEO, all right? But when I look at Solo, I see he's a contributor for Entrepreneur Media, a contributor for Rolling Stone Culture Council, a strategic advisor from Carrot, a strategic advisor for a company called Upside. Now, he could not be doing that anymore. I'm just looking on the surface. So Solo, apologies, I could be completely incorrect. But something I see in that doesn't work is when founders get too distracted on other stuff, if you're not all in on this thing, it'd be tough to scale and build. Distractions basically is basically the thing. If they can stay focused, they got a shot, man. If they're distracted, this doesn't have a chance. Okay. So that was 3 tech companies that active athletes right now are building. All right, we have Gameup FYI, Cole Anthony. We got Robert Burns, founder of DormHub. We got Spencer Dinwiddie of Calaxy. We got also shout out Solo because Solo played football in college as well for Penn. So Solo definitely could be part of the Athletes and Us community. Shout out Solo. So what do you think? He's going to work? Would you fund them? Let us know in the comments, man. Thank you for tuning into the Athletes and Asses podcast. Like here, subscribe here. All right. Show love to the podcast. And if you like this one or you want to hear something different, let us know. But your feedback is essential to what we sort of put out. So we're testing in real time. Let us know what you think. Thank you so much. We'll see you for the next one.